Hey, this is Matt once again. We're about to another video. This is another paid request, this time for Richard. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, topics, reactions, reviews, re-reviews, randomness, out of the blueness, however it may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for The Producers, a film that some people say was 1967, some say 1968. I'll say 1967 for the sake of argument. The first film Mel Brooks directed. And right out of the gate he had a film that was a massive hit, that won the Oscar for Best Script, and Gene Wilder was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. And of course Mel Brooks would go on to be in... Well, he would direct... And he was also be in Blazing Saddles and Spaceballs. He directed Young Frankenstein, Dracula Dead and Loving It, Robin Hood Men in Tights. A lot of fun movies. Nowadays, he's pretty much retired. You don't really see or hear much of him anymore. I think there's something else he's working on. Was it dealing with history of the world, or sorry, I forget what it is, but anyway, this film stars Zero Mostel, which, to be honest, I'm very unfamiliar with him. I think he did play versions of Fiddler on the Roof, but movie-wise, again, I'm very unfamiliar with Zero Mostel. And then you have Gene Wilder, very early role from who. Gene Wilder would work with Mel Brooks, again with Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein. And I know later on, this got a remake with Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane, and there was a lot of stage plays involving this plot. I think Matthew Broderick did also the play versions, the stage play. And the idea is a fun idea. It's Zero Mostel is this producer. He's in a bad bit of luck. Pretty much he flirts with various older women who want some company, some fun times. And he flirts with them, and he's a womanizer, and he's like, hey, they'll give me some money, pimps himself out, however you want to put it. They help finance his stuff, but he's been a bit of a losing streak where his stuff hasn't made money. And then Gene Wilder, he comes in to check the books. And he's like, well, technically, you got $2,000 extra because you said it cost this, but then it was this, and technically you could get a lot of trouble for that. But hell, if you wanted to do this on purpose, you would have made a lot more money. And Mostel's like, what are you talking about? So Gene Wilder says, you can make more with a flop than with a hit. For example, say you made something for $1 million. But it costs $40,000. If it's a hit, you made deals with people, you had to give all this money back, and you can't afford it, so then it could be fraudulent, you go to jail. But if it's a flop, no one's expecting you to... Maybe it works differently nowadays, but I guess back then, hey, you can't pay it back, blah, blah, blah. Well, that money, just keep it. And you say, well, I spent all this money on the production, I don't have any money, it flopped. Or maybe I can pay you back the little money we got, but then the money that you didn't spend and you said you needed, you kept all that, and then you can do whatever you want. Anyway, one thing leads to another, and they come up with the idea, and Mostel kind of pushes Gene Wilder to help him to create a surefire flop, which would be a guaranteed money payday for these guys. And so they choose what they think is the worst script ever, and it's Springtime for Hitler, a musical about the love of Adolf Hitler, written by a guy who is a former Nazi, and he has a adoring love for Hitler, and it's supposed to be this whimsical musical. They said, yes, this is the worst idea ever, it's bad taste, this will be a surefire flop, people will walk out and they'll be aghast. I think what they released it out in the film because the play becomes a huge hit, and then they have to figure out what to do next. And like I said, overall the story is interesting, is fun. This idea kind of ahead of its time. The actors do their jobs well. Gene Wilder, he's very much in tune with this nervous nature quality to him. He freaks out when Mostel's like touching his little blanket, and there's one time that he's on the ground and the guy's standing over him, and Gene Wilder's like, "Don't jump on me! Don't jump on me!" He's just so neurotic. Some people would say it's very over the top, but at the same time, it's kind of a good look at what's to come for Wilder as a performer, whether it be into the other films like Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles, whether it to be working with Richard Pryor and Stir Crazy and See No Evil, Hear No Evil, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Now I would say I like those films more than this, because those films I would say I got more laughs out of, or maybe because also some of those films I grew up with more, so you say maybe there's a bit more of nostalgia. But I thought this was still decently entertaining. So again, they find this script, which is a love letter to Hitler, and Mel Brooks, from what I understand, the idea is that he is Jewish, and the Holocaust, one of the most horrible things that happened in human history, flat out. If he went on a soapbox and declared his hatred for it, people might not listen. But if you make fun of it and you laugh at Hitler, then maybe you get more eyes onto it, which is true. Whether it be satire, whether it be with clever writing, whether it be kind of what South Park does. South Park, it's funny, like I look at some of the, when they get to the songs and the musical numbers, it so reminds me of what Trey Parker and Matt Stone would do in South Park. I don't think they've ever mentioned this movie, but I have to think this stuff, Springtime for Hitler, has to be some kind of inspiration for when those guys do some of their crazy musicals and the South Park shows and movies and so forth. So yeah, they get this script and they find the writer, played by Kenneth Mars. And he's very gun-ho in his performance about how much he loves Hitler, and he told funnier jokes than Winston Churchill. He's so much better than Winston Churchill. And they hire awful actors, and yeah, it's a movie that probably people nowadays, they may question some stuff. Like, they hired a director who is a gay director, but he's very flamboyant in his gayness, that you don't know if it's just trying to be satiric or just being over the top, or some people may find it a bit weird and off-putting, the performance. I didn't really care either way, but I'm just saying that's maybe how some people look at it today. I would say my favorite bit is the open call for who to play Hitler, and the guy they got, God, what was his name? Is it Dick Shawn? I want to say, I think it's Dick Shawn, who plays Lorenzo. LSD, baby. He was like my favorite performance. he has this groove. Hey, baby, how's it going? And he's singing this hippy dippy song with these ladies in order to try to get the part. And the song's about, and he's got like a Campbell soup necklace on around his neck. He's like, I give a flower to the garbage man. He stuffs my girl in a garbage can. I give a flower to the garbage man. He stuffed my girl in a garbage can. He did this and he did that. There's something about him. He got the chuckles out of me, and his part is important because when you do get to the play of Springtime for Hitler, and you have this musical number that starts off where people are in Gestapo outfits, but they're seeing this highfalutin dance about how positive Germany was, and don't be stupid, be smart, come and join the Nazi party. And the audience is aghast. They leave, then they come back, and then when Shawn starts playing his role, where he's playing Adolf Hitler, but he still acted the same. Hey, baby, how's it going? Oh, I don't know about this, baby. Like, he starts playing it in that specific way, and the audience starts laughing. And I don't blame them, and I can understand why the audience is laughing, because I was laughing at the performance. And it's one of those things where, while I do get more laughs out of Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles, Spaceballs, other Gene Wilder films I did, the films he did with Richard Pryor, for the most part, Not Another You, that was awful. When I said it was ahead of its time, how many movies do we look at nowadays where they try to make something and I guess really it's people trying to make a good movie but it ends up being bad but funny and creates a life of its own? There's kind of the same vicinity where they were trying to make something bad to make people shock, but instead they make something so bad that people laugh. It's so good it's bad. I don't know how many movies back in the 60s dealt with the so bad it's good mentality, which is now common nowadays, to see something, whether it be a TV show or a movie that is so bad it's good. The Room. I mean, this almost felt like The Disaster Artist, where they're making this film and they think they're making something so good, but it turns out so bad people are laughing. And here they're trying to make something so bad, but it turns out so bad it's entertaining, people are laughing. For some reason I saw some kind of weird comparison between the two. I know that doesn't make sense, but it's something that was entering my brain when this was happening. And when you have films like Troll 2, you have films like Samurai Cop, these films that have become cult movies. Some would say Manos Hands of Fate, although I just don't like that in any way, any fashion. And these other cult films, I don't know how many filmmakers approach that so early on in this timeline. I'm sorry about that. That makes the script a bit more clever and a bit more interesting. I will be honest, I wish more of the film was about the construction of this play. But the reason they didn't do that is because they wanted to reveal to the audience as to what this play is, so that the audience are looking at it at the same time that the audience in the theater is looking at it. And the simpatico of them both seeing this for the first time. So I get that portion as to why to do it that way. But it's just, there's a part of me that would love to have heard and seen more of the behind the scenes of trying to get this thing made. Or maybe it would have been cool if this was more of a behind the scenes of the making of a movie instead of a theater play. Like, you want to make a bad movie, a movie that flops so badly, and they go into all the details of making a film and the behind the scenes of making a film and them trying to purposely make a bad movie because they hire this and that, and the troubles and tribulations are going through it. But at the same time, there have been movies that have not exactly done that, but you just see Dolomite Is My Name with Eddie Murphy and The Disaster Artist. And again, it's not the same premise, but you get that fun behind-the-scenes factor with it. So maybe in this way it differentiates it. In the long run, it makes it a bit different compared to those. And I thought Mostel and Gene Wilder worked well together. I thought they had good chemistry with each other. I like when things have gone haywire and Gene Wilder's going to turn himself in and Mostel is pissed off at him. And so Gene Wilder's like, grabs like, fat, you're fat, you're fatty, you're fat, you're fat. Just Gene Wilder just losing it. Again, some people may say just too over the top and just too... But it was entertaining. Maybe I'm partial to Gene Wilder because I miss the guy, because he's part of one of my favorite comedies. I mean, I've never done a list, but if I did a top 5 favorite comedies, The Golden Child would be in there, some other stuff. But See No Evil, Hear No Evil with Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor would be in my top 5 favorite comedies. I love that film to death. So I miss the guy. I'm partial to the guy. And to be honest, I had never seen the film before. I had seen only clips of the film, but I had never seen the film in full. And like I said, the musical stuff felt like something that South Park would later do. And it wouldn't be the last time Mel Brooks dealt with musical stuff. I mean, Young Frankenstein, you had Peter Boyle and Gene Wilder putting on the Ritz. Blazing Saddles, you had the song at the end where it breaks the fourth wall from the Western to the real world. Robin Hood Men in Tights did it. We're men in tights. Even Spaceballs with the little alien that comes out of the stomach. Hello, my darling. Hello, you know. So you watch almost every Mel Brooks film, there's some type of musical motif in there. That's something he carried through into most of his movies. But again, sometimes creating his own music like this, sometimes using previous music like, again, the Young Frankenstein putting on the Ritz. I mean, really the only Mel Brooks film I did not like was the one where he tried to parody Alfred Hitchcock, High Anxiety. For some reason, I could not get into that one. I don't know why, it just didn't do anything for me. Like I said, I love Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein. Spaceballs is fun. Robin Hood Men in Tights is entertaining. I even didn't mind Dracula Dead in Love in it. A lot of people said that's the worst one, but I had fun. I like Leslie Nielsen. I like Mel Brooks. Staking the girl, and then the blood goes like a tidal wave. Do it again. The ending kind of fell flat for me, but at the same time, I get why they went in that direction. Spoiler alert. They don't know what to do, so they decide to blow up the building. They screw up. They get themselves hurt. The next part, they're in a trial. And I get what Mel Brooks was doing, where Gene Wilder gives this big speech as if they're going to rouse the jury, they're going to get free. But the next bit is they're in jail. It didn't work out. I thought the idea what they were going for. And, you know, they did the crime, so now they gotta do the time, and they're in jail, and then they're kind of still working, only with prisoners down in a musical while in jail. I don't know why. Something about it fell flat to me. I don't know why. And the characters, like I said, there's other characters in other Mel Brooks films I enjoy more. But again, they are kind of common, not kind of, they are common, little bit of scumbags, likable scumbags, but, well, not, I mean, I've seen much worse scumbags, so that maybe that's a bit too harsh. Is that a film I could see myself rewatching a lot compared to the other Mel Brooks movies? Even though I enjoyed it, this still feels like a movie that's kind of one and done for me, where I probably never see it again. And I don't quite know why. I was sitting here before I turned on the camera thinking, why is that the case? And I really don't know. I think maybe it's because that back in my head that now I wish we could have seen more about the making. And maybe that's the thing, is that it would have been fun to see Mostel and Gene Wilder, them directing it, but them directing it so poorly on purpose. And to see them much more hands-on in the production. And maybe that's why it would have been funnier to me if it was a film. Maybe that's the thing, is that I'm not that knowledgeable or even that much of a fan of plays and the theater. So if it was a stage play, stage production, that whole limelight, that whole background, that whole setting just doesn't interest me or intrigue me. I know that's a small thing in a word that they complain about. It's not really me, well, I guess it is complaining about, but just, that's not an aspect that I don't see stage plays. I'm not a fan of it. Like I said, if it was about the making of a movie that was a flop, I guess it just would have intrigued me even more. And to see more like behind the scenes stuff, but again, I already talked about that. But I would say if you're a fan of Mel Brooks, if you're a fan of Gene Wilder, it's worth a look. It's a short running time. It's under 90 minutes long. Doesn't overstay its welcome. Sadly, a lot of folks here have passed away. Rest in peace, Gene Wilder and such. It's great to, to see them. And then Zero Mostel, being unfamiliar with him, I thought he did a rather good job. And, yeah, I thought it was fun for what it needed to be. I thought it was a nice stepping stone for Mel Brooks to go into the Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein in that era of movie making. It was a good first step. I mean, I don't know if it deserved to win an Oscar for Best Screenplay, but I've seen much worse films win awards, so this I could live with. But overall, the producer's pretty decent film. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.